Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Okay, live again.
Okay, everyone, welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast, episode number
26.
26. We're going through Sri Ishopanishad. Which mantra are we on now?
We're mantra 17.
Yeah. The Welsh Yogis today were in Download Festival, where we were meeting lots of people, lots of our fans.
Lovely metalheads.
And we had lots of people who gave donations to help with our good work we do, and also took Sri Ishopanishads and Welsh Yogi cards, so thank you very much.
Nice. And
now mantra 17.
Yeah, mantra 17.
This mantra we chant a lot at when we have to preside over funerals and things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I heard that. Someone was saying that the other day.
Can you chant the Sanskrit?
I try. I'm not so good, but I'll try. Vayo anilam amritam ate dam basmantam shariram om kratos smara kritam smara kratos smara kritam smara.
I'm really full from that meal, you know.
Yeah, we just had waffles. Like, because when we're on the road, sometimes we don't have the time to prepare like sabji and dal and rice and all these Indian cuisines.
I think we probably did have time. You just wanted waffles.
Yeah, waffles.
It was like being back in a kid again, isn't it? When you come
Yeah.
home from school, your mum makes you potato waffles.
We had potato waffles and beans.
Okay.
It was nice though. It was a good time. And now we are both blasted from too much food. But I just read that Sanskrit. What was the... Do you got the translation there, Gopal?
Translation. Let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Because that's in the purport Prabhupada talks about pranayam, isn't it? The air that...
Prana.
Yeah. Prana is the life air, and there's so many different life airs, and they move your body. I think it says...
His air is like circulating through the body. That's the life force.
Yeah, and these
there's, like,
airs...
different energy centers within the body, like circles he calls it, isn't it?
Here you go. It goes one should give up. This is what we just read in the translation. There's more to the translation. I'm just pausing it here, going on a little sidetrack. One should give up the material body, which will be turned to ashes, and allow the air of life to merge into the eternal reservoir of air. The living being's activities are performed within the body through the movements of different kinds of air, known in summary as prana.
I might need to hear that
vayu.
again. What did you say that last sentence?
The living being's activities are performed within the body through the movements of different kinds of air, known in summary as prana vayu.
So is that like...
To
so
me,
like the living entity interacts, like it controls this body by moving airs around the body?
Yeah, to me it conjures up the idea of, you know, you're sitting in a machine...
Yeah.
And you've got like these like levers and stuff that you move, which causes a fluctuation of like air.
Wow.
That helps move the machine.
That's probably far out. And Prabhupada then goes on to say that there's different circles, isn't it?
Yeah, he says the yogis generally study how to control the airs of the body.
What? So this is like Kundalini.
Yeah, different yoga, moving the air throughout the body. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, it talks about how the yogi moves the outgoing breath into the ingoing breath.
He offers, hold
it.
It's like a whole thing. I have no idea about any of it though.
The soul is supposed to rise from one circle of air to another until it rises to the Brahma Randhra, the highest circle.
And that's the circle at the crown of your head, isn't it?
That's
the crown chakra.
Yeah, and then the yogis then can burst.
They burst out of there.
Out of the top of their head and go to whichever planet they want.
Yeah, it's far out. But I heard that's why, you know, we've got these like shikas, these little dangle bits of hair. Apparently it's to protect that chakra. I don't know how bona fide that explanation of...
Yeah, I've heard a few different explanations why we've got a shika.
A Shika, if you don't know, if you've never seen us.
See Harry Krishnas with a bit of hair at the back of it.
Yeah, they got a fully shaved head, but like this little tuft at the back.
Yeah.
What other explanations have you got for the tuft?
Prabhupada mostly just says we just like to be clean. That's why you have shaved head. Okay. But the Sikha, I mean, Radhanath Swami says it's a flag of love. Wow. He calls it something like a love flag. It means we represent love, and that's what we stand for, sort of thing. That's nice.
I heard it so that like when we die, God can pull us up by the Shika into heaven. Yeah. I'm doing about that one. There's many explanations for many things, but ultimately we're trying to talk about these different points in the body, chakras. A lot of people are into their chakras as well, isn't it? You ever been into chakras, Gopal?
No, not really. I used to watch a few videos and things, but I don't.
It's like nice ideas, but apparently chakras vibrating at a different frequency, and you can have like different sound vibrations. You ever heard of those like binaural beats? Like, and they vibrate at certain resonances which resonate with certain chakras. I don't know how bona fide any of it is, but there's certainly some power in certain like certain frequencies. Yeah. Like I sometimes listen to a free heart chakra binaural beat when I'm feeling sort of like stressed or depressed. Do you? Sometimes, and like I sit down to like write in a little journal, and I put that on, and it like makes me super emotional. Like it makes like some kind of outpouring of emotion come up, and I can sometimes write more from the heart in that sense.
When you put, what's it called?
Type in 333, or just type in, I don't know. But yeah, it's like these sound frequencies.
333 heart chakra sound frequency.
Something like that, yeah. And it's like music. It's like background music, which is nice for writing too. But sometimes it makes me feel emotional.
I didn't know you listen to stuff like this.
It's only when I'm like on the edge of... There it is. See the fractal patterns?
This is the one, is it?
One of them. I don't know if this is the one I listen to, but...
Okay.
So everyone close your eyes and listen to this binaural beat and see if it makes you cry like it makes me cry.
Oh, first, I'm putting it on YouTube now. So
it's going to be an advert.
There's an advert first, yeah.
Okay.
It's an advert for...
Oh, it's gone.
Oh, Welsh Yogi Podcast advert. That's good.
Listen to this.
Does it stay like this?
It's sort of, yeah. It's like very low resonance. It's just something you're having in the background, but there's like some kind of... This isn't the one I've listened to, but...
I like the picture on the YouTube picture.
It's a mandala.
Yeah, I know what a mandala is.
But have a listen. I'm explaining it for the people who can't see.
Alright.
Come on.
I was like, yeah, I know what a mandala is. Like,
you've been a monk for 10 years, I know what a mandala is.
We don't have to say like mandala.
Prabhu, it is a mandala. It is a sacred shape. Are you feeling that? Shh.
It's okay.
There's something to it.
You think so?
I don't know. A lot of people say that there's something
It's
to it.
got 15,000 likes and 505 dislikes.
1 million views.
Extremely... over 1 million views.
Yeah, a lot of people listen to this kind of stuff.
Extremely powerful heart chakra opening vibrations.
Because...
Maybe we should play Kirtan on these podcasts one day.
Yeah, we should play Kirtan for sure. But this is like... It's definitely... there's something to this whole, like... Well, even Prabhupada's talking about it here. There is a system of chakras. There's a system of like... points in the body which do different things, isn't it?
So I wasn't listening. There's different chakras. If I understood you correctly, you were saying there's different chakras in the body that do different things.
Well, no, we were saying that there's like the soul controls the body,
right?
By being in certain of these areas, right?
No, I don't think that's the case.
That's not the case.
But the soul moves around depending.
I don't know, man.
No, it's the air. The air goes around the body, moving in different. Oh. That's what happened. The soul. My understanding is the soul's always situated within the heart. But then there's different airs that go around the body, and Prabhupada explains that a lot of sickness and stuff is due to
trapped there.
Yeah, different airs not working, like he's in Ayurveda, mental illness and things like that, or even caused by disturbance of airs within the body.
Yeah.
It's quite a science.
It's a science that I know nothing about. So.
Well, it bridges now to the next part of the, because we only read the first half of the translation.
Yeah, so maybe we'll start again and carry on, is it? Shall I read it?
So, let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Okay. Now, because this isn't the soul, so the body will be burnt to ashes. Go back to where it came from, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
There's like a crazy thing in the purport about the different places where the different things that the body belongs to, isn't it? Like the body belongs to the, was it in the purport? Spiritual body. Maybe not. But like this body, does it belong to the person who made the body, the parent?
Yeah, you were thinking, we were reading Krishna book yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And Narada Muni speaking to Narakuvira, Manigriva, the demigods.
Yeah.
And they became puffed up with material opulence.
Yeah.
And Narada Muni says, well, why are you so proud of your body?
Yeah.
Who owns your body? Do you own the body, or is it owned by the father who creates you? Is it owned by the master who feeds you? Is it owned by the dogs that eat you when you die?
Yeah, the worms that... Yeah, there's so who owns the body ultimately? The body is just a sort of... It's made of material energy.
It's something that we've just borrowed. You know, you only hear... You go to Blockbusters and you rent your DVD. Yeah. You only have so much time and then you got to return it back.
It's an old school reference.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah, I know. That's my time, isn't it? I became a Hare Krishna when Blockbusters was still around.
Really?
And then... or you'd rent a book from the library. So we're living on borrowed time, so we just borrow this body
but we
for a
think
short
it's
period
ours,
of time.
Become puffed up and attached to it. So he's saying, let this temporary body be burnt. Let it go. It doesn't matter to me. Let it be gone. Let these airs merge with the totality of air. All these different aspects of our temporary connection with this world, let them be gone. But now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices. And because you're the ultimate benefactor, please remember that all that I have done to you. And I think this is like a big part of Bhakti Yoga, a big aspect of it, at least for me, when I read the Bhagavad Gita introduction. It's saying that you can make so much progress in the material realm, the material sphere, like in relation to our body and the extensions of the body. You can have a nice house, nice car, nice family, all of these kind of things that are related to the body. But ultimately, at the time of death, they're just gone, They get sort of eaten by worms and they're just gone. But any service that's rendered to Krishna, to the source of everything, is never lost because it's valued and remembered, if you get what I'm saying. So this is this is something. So any material life, it's like you're building a massive sandcastle on the beach, but eventually the waves of time will come and smash the sandcastle away. So we got to think about what are we doing with our time and our energy and our efforts. Because Prabhupada also talks about that in the material in the purport, wasn't it? There's two. We have to act for double functions. So it's either we have to act to maintain our body and for self-realization. Yeah. So there's two aspects of life.
Yeah, and then also in the purport he goes on to explain how worldliness, sometimes succumbing to worldliness, is almost expected for the endeavoring yogi. So we might have our lifestyle situations, endeavor to practice spiritual life and the yoga lifestyle and Krishna consciousness, but things might just come along the way and throw us off course, or sometimes because of the power of material nature we get distracted. So some things are even predictable, especially as one's starting off in spiritual life. But Prabhupada quotes the verses Krishna explains. He actually quotes a few verses in this purport from Abhichet Sutaracharo Bhajatam Mam.
Ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is it?
Yeah,
9:30 to 36, I think.
That's it, yeah. He quotes 9:30 to 34 in the purport, and how linking to this verse in Upanishad, how any service done to Krishna, any spiritual service, then Krishna never forgets. As Krishna explains in the second chapter, Nihapakramo nastosti nasasoyo vidyate sva alpam api atas dharmasya Chaya te mataho bayat, that any advancement made in spiritual life is never forgotten, and the temporary like fluctuations or slips and falls they're understood to vanish over time as one advances more and more spiritually. So you can't put such a huge expectation on yourself when you're just starting spiritual life.
Like, because we hear this a lot, like the living entity is in this kind of marginal position, so it can either choose to identify as a material body, as this external physicality, or as the spiritual being that's related to the source of all beings. But like you know, the material body in Bhagavad Gita is described as a machine, and machines are mechanical, right? So like they, especially the mind, like the way our mind works is very like cyclical. So it like learns behaviors, and then it wants to maintain those behaviors, you know, over time. So like for many lifetimes we've been developing a whole set of habits, and like the way that we interact with the world. Like, you ever try changing a habit, it takes a little while to make that change. And it's the same if you're trying to sort of change the habit to thinking, okay, I'm not this body, and the goal of life isn't to make my body feel good. The actual goal of life is to realize myself as a soul. So if you're trying to change that habit, but sometimes you accidentally fall into these old cycles. That's what Krishna's saying, is like, okay, you may fall into that cycle, but as long as your determination's fixed in self-realization, then it's no problem. Because it's going to happen naturally, because we're so conditioned, we're so programmed to act in like in certain ways, you know what I mean? So like that's the whole battle that the living entity, and you hear this in the Bible, like you got the pullings of the flesh, you know, like the material body has these desires,
dark night to the soul,
dark night to the soul. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. But yeah, like the material body has these desires and urges of its own that are actually separate from us ourselves, and sometimes we get dragged by those kind of urges of the body before we even have time to check it, and we find ourselves like engaging in something we don't want to do. Like the best example of that is like people who are trying to give up smoking or trying to give up drinking, and then suddenly like they have a drink or they have a smoke or whatever it is, and like 3 months have passed and they've been drinking for the past 3 months, and they're like, wait a sec, I tried to stop this, but because I accidentally succumbed to this like habit, this cycle, I've been dragged down the river, and this, you know, so you got to, that's the thing, isn't it? You got to
keep pouring in spiritual activities, like Prabhupada mentions as well in the purport, the different acts of yoga, the primary limbs of Bhakti yoga, Shravanam, Kirtanam, or, you know, hearing and chanting, offering prayers, meditation. Yeah, that's why I find helpful, like having a spiritual program to my day each day, because I have like a minimum, it's called sadhana, or a minimum practice that I do each day, and I find that if I do this minimum practice each day, then eventually it'll override my material habits. So like you were saying, isn't it, a habit is something that's very hard to break, but the good thing about that is if you work hard to develop new habits, then because they're hard to break, they can run your life for you in a positive way. So life is really about being very particular about what the habits that we want to cultivate. Think about what kind of person we want to be, and then target those habits that we thought, if they're in my life, that'll be good, you know, hearing and chanting.
There's like practical ways you can analyze your habits and see if they're serving you as well, isn't it? Like, because the day is made up of a collection of tiny habits, and basically, like, when we wake up, we get up and brush our teeth, or maybe we don't. Like,
I've started Habit Share again now.
Habit Share. I've stopped Habit Share.
Habit Share is an app. I recommend you download it. Anyone listening, I started because I was doing it quite diligently for a while, for probably like a year.
I did it for a good 6 months, but then you break the habit, and that becomes the new habit. And then like I was saying, 3 months down the line, You haven't done habit share in 3 months.
Yeah, I found I need something that's like a program. So habit share is you write your habit that you want to do.
Yeah, like for me, it's like, what was yours? Mine like.
Mine grew to a bit more than I could
handle. Like
I had reading this book, studying that book, reading that book, reciting this prayer, doing this.
Yeah,
you know, it was
become a big chore list then.
Yeah, but it was good because I'd have to. My mind works a certain way that I've just got to I got to try and tick everything off. But we went into quite a selfless marathon.
Yeah,
leading up to Christmas, and then it's sort of expected that we put everything aside and focus on distributing books. But I've got back into it now because I've noticed that without holding myself accountable to a certain daily regimen, then there's, you know, a common saying in yoga is that the mind will always take the path of least resistance.
For sure.
So the easiest thing for you to do, then that's where the mind will go.
Yeah.
Gopal, you don't need to do this today. You know, it's okay. You know, you've read the Bhagavatam so many times now. You've read Bhagavad Gita so many times, and you've got lots of stuff to do. If you just
have a chalk ice.
Yeah, just have a chalk ice. Dabble with, you know, do a bit of dabbling with reading, but.
Yeah, you need to be accountable, because that's what you're saying. The mind takes the path of least resistance.
And Krishna calls it. Sorry to cut you off, but I was just, when Arjuna says to control the mind is very difficult, Krishna explains he says it's chanchalam, and Krishna says that it is possible by abhyasa yoga, and abhyasa means practice, repetition, and by endeavoring to do these things repeatedly, then one does gain mastery over the mind and senses. So I think
it's like metal, isn't it? Sometimes you like bend metal a few times and it springs back, but if you bend it enough, eventually it stays in place. I don't know. I was trying to think of some kind of analogy, because like you said, the mind takes the path of least resistance, but the mind is like a machine. It's like a perfectly tuned machine to do that. So if you give too much credence to your mind, if you listen to your mind too much, then you're always going to take that path of least resistance, which might not necessarily lead you on a path that you want to go.
Yeah, then you're on a slippery slope.
Yeah, because you're following
It's harder to climb back up the mountain then.
Because the mind's made of matter, isn't it?
Yeah, subtle type of matter. And I guess the main point is it's meant to be under the control of the intelligence, or the buddhi. So the intelligence needs to be strong enough to direct the mind to be a place where you want to go. And I think that's probably the main point of this verse, is that it's another call to the Supreme. It's actually a call to Om, but this Om as a personal conscious form originally, where in this English translation, Om is translated as "O Lord." Because it's with the understanding there's a personal sentience behind that, as also highlighted in the purport. There's this supreme sentient being that is the object of all sacrifices and surrender and love, and whatever deposits one can make to the reservoir of love in this life. You know, you have a loving propensity, you can take little intentions of love and deposit it in Krishna, the reservoir of all love. Then at the end of the life, the yogi in this case is praying to Krishna, saying, please remember all of my love deposits in this that I've given in this life. Please never forget me. And in the purport, Prabhupada is using evidence from Vedic literature to show that Krishna never forgets any spiritual endeavor done on for this sake.
Which is why it's like the most valuable use of time, because deposits in the sort of the bank account of the mind, so to speak.
In your material bank account, what are you going to do with it when you die?
Exactly, it's saying the temporary body will be burnt to ashes. You know? That stuff's going to get lost. It's going to get burnt. But if you're putting stuff in the Bhakti bank account, in the love, what do you call it? The love box. Yeah, whatever. Krishna. If you put deposits in Krishna, then you never lose them. So it's just steps forward, constant steps forward, which is pretty cool. I know it's a bit of a sidetrack, but when you said Om, I was listening to, like we're talking about sound vibrations, binaural beats, and apparently is an unstruck sound. You heard of that? Unstruck. So when we make sound, we usually have to strike something. So like my vocal cords are being struck, and it's creating a sound. When I speak normally, or when I hit the table, it makes a sound, but you need to strike it. But apparently is a vibration that exists naturally in the heart.
Where do you hear that?
Vaisheshkubu. So like when you actually say, if you try and do from like your diaphragm, there's no striking going on.
Yeah,
like it's
that's
just
interesting. Because I've also heard as well. Ravinder Prabhu was another one of our teachers. He was explaining is also the complete. It's like the complete sort of everything in the or I guess what am I trying to say? Everything within the sort of
phonetic world, like
in the arena of what you speak.
Yeah.
So it's because it's a sound that comes down from the bottom of your gut. It comes up through your heart, through your, if you it comes in your mouth and then goes out your nose.
Yeah, there's like every type of, it passes every movement.
Exactly, because there's some sounds that are like dental, ta ta, and there's some, some words are nasal, like no, So, but the fulfills them all, because at the end of you're making the last sound with your mouth closed as well. So it's something like that.
It's interesting, but that symbol, it's got some potency for sure.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. It's quite popular.
You see symbols all over. Our old Welsh Yogi podcast card had an on it.
Yeah.
It's quite recognisable.
Represents Krishna. Like, it's interesting, in Sri Upanishad, and it's translated as the Lord.
Yeah. Well, I know it represents Krishna, but I heard it's like the same as like Mr. Like when you say Mr. Gopal or whatever, like when it's like an address, but it's not necessarily a personal name.
Yeah,
So
I mean Krishna is very intimate. I mean,
to say Krishna.
Sanatana Goswami, is it Sanatana Goswami? Rupa Goswami say is, if you break it down into the three letters AUM, it represents Krishna. Krishna's female counterpart, Radharani.
The divine feminine.
Potency, divine masculine, divine feminine, and the jiva.
The living entity.
Yeah, the living entities.
So it's our divine mother, our divine father, and us ourselves.
The whole all reality.
Is that the Holy Trinity? Maybe not.
I don't know. The Holy Trinity was something that Christian philosophers came up with.
Okay, but it is
long after the Bible.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like, because you had when they wanted to understand Christianity, I think what I've heard anyway is that to understand it deeper, they still turned to the philosophy of I don't know if it was the Greeks or the Romans or but so
like the Greek gods and
they used their abilities of philosophy and then wove that into the
so you
teachings
mean like
of the
Aristotle,
Bible.
Socrates, like these Greek philosophers?
Yeah. There's a whole chain of, I mean, I guess we have the similar thing in Vedic literature. We have acharyas and professors that highlight different points that are...
It's necessary. You can't just expect to read one of these books and understand it without some kind of explanation.
You need a teacher. I mean, that's also taught by the books themselves.
Yeah.
It's like people who say, I just want to read the book. I don't want anyone to teach it to me. But if you read the book says, especially like Vedic literature, Yatata Guru, so one needs to accept a spiritual teacher in order to understand this. So the book itself is saying you need to accept a teacher, and the book itself also explains what a bona fide teacher is, which we've gone over in the podcast before.
Yeah.
You need a bona fide teacher, a bona fide process, you need to put the process into action, you need to get tangible result, and then the more one does that, the more one advances properly in spiritual life.
And the more deposits one puts in the Bhakti account into that.
That's it. Put it in the love account. The
love account.
You've got deposits of love to go into the source of all love.
So,
You're giving it back to the source. That's what yoga is. And again, in the purport, it's quoted, Bahunam Jananante Gyanamam Babadyante Vasudevam Samamriti Savatma
Sudurlabham, yeah.
Something like, so such a person is very rare,
Yeah.
because Prabhupada talks about the soul going through different hairs, the yogi going in different circles of the body and choosing where to go. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains how the highest place to go, which is very rare, is where one is Vasudevam Svam Iti. One is 100% engaging their loving propensity, 100% into the source of all love,
Giving
depositing fully.
Yeah.
Their love deposit, their whole life is a deposit of love to Krishna, and they move in the world like that, and then they change people's lives. That's a self-realized soul, one who's doing nothing selfishly, 100% completely for Krishna, completely in love, completely flowing back to the source of all love and all source of all loving relationships, and then that source then flows back to the devotee, and then through out into the world.
Yeah, you get a flood.
And
it's a flood back. Like.
It's a flood. That great soul, then everyone he meets gets splashed with this, original love that originally comes from Krishna.
Yeah.
And then when other people get splashed and drenched with this love in the form of mercy of the pure devotee, then they get soaked, and then they naturally want to splash others, and that's how.
And that's what this Krishna conscious movement is. It's the pandemic of love. It's spreading this supreme love around the universe, isn't it? Would you say?
Yeah, it's Lord Chaitanya's movement, the art of learning how to love again.
Yeah. And it starts with Shravanam, with hearing, isn't it? So that's what I'd recommend. People just keep trying to understand, keep trying to hear.
Yeah, and chanting. If you can get in touch, we can maybe send you some videos, or we're going to start Kirtan in Atma soon. You don't
It'll
hear
be this Friday.
Yeah.
So
nudge and a wink. Nudge is as good as a wink to a blind bat.
Yeah. Well, Friday the 25th or 26th.
In Atma, and then from then on we'll do every Friday in T Krishna, Cymru in Cardiff Bay. But anyway, I've been Gopal Roy.
This is back to Burfi.
No, what was it? Back to Rupa.
Back to Rupa. Sorry, I keep forgetting my name.
Hare Krishna, thank you very
Krishna.
much.
Thanks, guys. Get in touch as well. We'd like to hear from you. If you want, there's no pressure. Whatever.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Peace out.
Keep depositing
We
love.
value our listeners.
Oh.
I should play that song again.
Shikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinam Shikshana